can't force the sun to come up faster. It needs to come up on his own time. If it's not clear ahead of you, that's fine. Just take another step forward.
Welcome to the Strength Connection Podcast, a show to share stories, insights, and experiences in strength, physically, mentally, and spiritually. I'm Michael Kurkowski, host of the Strength Connection, and I'm so grateful that you can join me today. So in these episodes, I connect with some of the most inspiring and successful individuals to chop it up and learn from true life experiences that have helped them become who they are, the strongest versions of themselves. One of the greatest ways I've always learned the most important lessons is through stories. We all have them, and they make us who we are. So let's dive in. Here we go.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Strength Connection Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Kurkowski. Thank you for joining me today. It is me and you. This is a solo episode coming at you. Going to do a couple recaps, then dive right into some fun things I wanted to share with you today. So two of these podcasts, it's some amazing women that I've talked to recently. One was a return guest who episode is released now as you're listening to this, and that was with Colleen Conlon, and we titled it Coming Home to Myself. Let me give a little context behind this because Colleen's been a guest on the show before. We connected a little less than a year ago when I got a chance to hear about her story. She has a great book called Kettlebell Catalyst. She works specifically with women of really helping them transition a lot from the cardio world into strength training. And she's done some incredible physical pursuits in her life. She was Guinness World Record holder. We talked all about her attempts and successions of what she did there on the past time, but also a lot of the challenges that she dealt with physically. But since that time, we've stayed in touch a bit. A lot of the work that she's put out has been on her own kind of mental and spiritual journey. And she's been very open about sharing that on her social media channels. And we chatted a little while ago on the phone about a book that we were reading. And then it just got into just, what are you doing? You know, what am I doing? And just, it was a very just interesting conversation about the things that she's learned on not just the physical side of coaching, but things that she's been dealing with in her life that has not only helped her be a better coach, but just overall just a better person for herself and for, you know, her husband, for her community. So I asked her, I was like, hey, you want to jump back on the podcast? I'd love to have you on. And she was so stoked about it. This is one of those episodes that right at the end, I was like, we set up another time to chat soon because there was a lot more that we wanted to cover on this topic. But the big thing with Colleen that I wanted to express is I really enjoy following her content and seeing the work that she does as a coach. And I remember on this talk, she asked me and I said, I really love following your channel. She's like, well, why, if you don't mind me asking? And I don't think I gave a great answer at that point. It was something I was thinking about afterwards. And the main thing that I really love about people like Colleen is you could tell that she's aiming up. And what I mean by that is she's not just found or finding a wheelhouse that works really well for her and just sticking to that. Like she's really reaching outside of the comfort zones of not only her own expertise, but just of things that she is just trying to experience in her life. And she's very vulnerable about it. When you go over those things, and talk openly about the things that you're pursuing in the moment, it can get messy. And what I mean by messy is it's not incredibly articulated or curated out. It's often when we have those conversations where we're really seeking meaning, seeking purpose, seeking just kind of get to that highest elevation of who we are. Those aren't just on the tip of our tongue. You know, it's if you've been a coach for a while and you've been doing a specific thing like kettlebell training, yeah, you can speak about that over and over again, but start talking about, mindset, overcoming obstacles, about gratitude practices, about having to have an argument with your family because their beliefs don't gel with what you feel is your path and your beliefs anymore.
We'll get right back to this episode, but first I want to tell you about Nabosu Technology. Nabosu is the leading company in foot care products created by the top functional podiatrist and human movement specialist, Dr. Emily Splickle and her team. Our feet are a connection to the earth and the foundation of all human movement, and it's often the most overlooked part of our body when it comes to health, fitness, and recovery. Personally, I never thought much of how the foot impacts my movement and strength until years ago, when I found my intense sciatic pain I was dealing with was coming from a locked up midfoot and ankle issue. So after putting emphasis on this, my pain subsided completely. And since then, I've made sure to take care of my feet before anything else in training. I use the Nabosu NeuroBall every day, whether I'm training or not, and I felt significantly better in both my barefoot strength training as well as running outside on grass and on pavement. Nabosu has the best products on the market, including the NeuroBall, recovery socks, splays, activation insoles, and the kinesis boards and mats. So to check out Nabosu technology, click on the link in the comments or go to nabosutechnology.com and use the code CONNECTION and get an additional 10% off your purchase. Again, that's the code CONNECTION. Use it to get 10% off. All right, now let's get back to it.
She talked about all these things on the podcast, and I just have the utmost respect for her of doing that. And it was really interesting to kind of go into these topics and to share a lot of these things that she's been going through over the past year and what she's learned in that from not only her own personal strength, but how she's connected with her clients, with her coaching business, and how it's elevated her to even another level of communication and connection with these people. So that was a lot of the gist of this conversation. And as I said, just such respect for Colleen for coming on and speaking about these things so openly. And that one's available now, so go check that out. This week, I got a chance to connect with another woman, Megan Henry. And Megan is a mindset performance coach, and she's also a former USA Olympic athlete in skeleton. Now, if you don't know what skeleton is, because I didn't, it's similar to bobsled, but you're an individual person. You are face down and your chin is like an inch away from the ice. And you are speeding at like 70 miles an hour down this freaking ice chute. It's fucking crazy. And I asked her a bit of just like, how do you get into, a sport like that? Because it's not something that I'm sure there's like tryouts or just things all over the place of people wanting to do this. And that was an interesting story. She was a D1 athlete, a great athlete for a long time, but then eventually led into sports psychology and mindset. And she calls herself both the savage and the sage, which I love. She said, embracing both of these individuals as complete parts of you, that's how you embrace everything that you are. It's really the shadow self and the light. I thought it was a beautiful way that she described that. And there was one takeaway that I wanted to highlight here, which I got a lot from. And because we were talking about affirmations, when she worked with people and we're developing confidence and creating affirmations, I told her, I was like, this is something I've struggled with. Like personal affirmations for a long time, I was like, I feel like this is bullshit. It's like, I am great. I am amazing. I'm fearless. I'm a warrior, like all this stuff. It's like, I just felt like you're just saying words and you're trying to kind of almost just put these thoughts into your mind. But if you don't resonate with it, if it's just a general statement, then it feels very delusional. Like it doesn't actually have any emotion behind it. So I was kind of one that threw the baby out with the bathwater, being like, I don't think affirmations I don't think there's really value to that. And she said, it's like, I totally get it. She's like, so how she works with athletes is 3 different things. Like it has to be personal. They have to be true, and you have to create an emotion that you want to embrace more. So what she was talking about is when she speaks with athletes, say they want to develop more confidence, they go over like, what is a moment in life when you were very strong, or you were very proud, or you were very invigorated? It was something that maybe you didn't think you could do that you did. And everybody has those different things. It could be in strength. It could be in family. It could be a crazy event that happened and you stayed calm and you stayed reserved. Whatever it is, like that's something to utilize. So if you say like, I am strong, or I am capable of doing this task, or I'm going to do this task because I did this. So you're actually saying I am this person, or I am this person that I'm striving to be in this event or whatever you're doing because. And then there's an example of a way that you've already done that before. I thought that was really powerful. It almost seemed a little self-evident about it. But as soon as she said that, I was like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. But this was a lesson to me of, we don't just throw things out immediately just from a poor, example of it. Sometimes people like Megan come in and say, no, this is a better approach to do it. And I thought that was great. And I wanted to share that with you. So it was interesting. As I was talking to Megan, I said it felt very similar to when I had Dr. Nate Zinsser on the podcast and the work that he does with the confident mind, which got a big laugh from her because he's actually her mentor. She works with Dr. Zinsser, and he's been a big advocate of her getting into West Point and joining that organization. So I was like, all right, this is definitely right on point. But again, thank you so much to Megan for this episode. It's going to be out in a couple weeks after this one is released. And so if you listen to the one with Dr. Zinsser and it resonated a lot with you, then this one's going to be right up your alley as well. All right. So I want to tell a story to you. And I have 2 tattoos on my right arm. If you're watching this, they're right on the side here. And somebody asked me about it recently, and this story always comes to my mind. It's a reminder to me. And both of them symbolize the fog. And this is a story I haven't talked about before in the podcast, but it's been something very personal to me. So there's a video that I saw a while ago from a gentleman about receiving revelation. So the context of this video is religious, but there was an analogy that I thought was so closely related to anything that we do in pursuits of strength, in pursuits of mindset, career, and just general life in there. And when he said, when we speak to God, or we speak to the universe, whatever you want to call it, we call it prayer. But when we receive communication back, it can come in a variety of channels, but we call that revelation. And it comes in numerous ways, but it's similar to patterns of light. So he said the first pattern is like a light that's being turned on in a dark room. It's like a light switch. It's very quick. It's very dramatic. It's very in your face. In those moments, everything changes. Now, if you think of these could be, unfortunately, very traumatic things that pop up, or they could be very huge breakthroughs that come into our life where we work for something, then immediately everything changes. We refer to these moments probably more common than rare in terms of how many days that we're living, in our lives. But the second one is more of a gradual ascension of light. So use this pattern as kind of like a sunrise coming over the horizon, where you can continuously see clearer and clearer as the sun comes up, but you still can't see everything all at once. So it takes time. This, I believe, is a bit more common than it is rare. So specifically when you're aiming for a specific goal, you're working on it step by step. So each day you get a little bit closer, you can see the finish line, you can see the goal clearer and clearer. But it still takes a day by day approach in order to get there. You can't force the sun to come up faster. It needs to come up on its own time. But then there's a third one, and this is the foggy day. And this is where there might be just enough light that you can tell that it's not darkness, it's not night anymore. So it's an approach to take, but you can only see just enough to take a step or two in front. And as soon as I heard this, I said, this feels like most days of my life, where I can see just enough ahead of me, and I want to see faster, I want to see clearer in there, but there's just enough that you can take another step forward. And as soon as I thought that, I remember this like it was yesterday, as soon as I thought that, the gentleman who said this in the video said, this is where most of my days occur. And I started cracking up from there. And this is a man who's a very devout, religious man. Like he's, studied this for a long term, and still with all the practice that he's done, he says, most days still are very foggy. I just have just enough energy, or I can see just enough ahead of me that I can take one step or two. And this is most days. Okay. And as I said, I think this is the best analogy that I've seen in strength training, in developing a business, in relationships, just in overall living life. We can see just far enough ahead just to press forward a little bit. And then in a lot of the work of me studying the Tao, a main theme in that is about non-doing. It's about not striving. It's about eliminating desire. And honestly, these terms that they use from translation is a really challenging concept to accept in modern times. I worked in such environments for a long time of pedal to the metal, of work harder. You want to fast track your outcomes. We want to see the results as immediately as possible. And if we don't, that means that we just need to try harder. We need to put more time in. We need to put more work in from there. It can resonate, I'm sure, with so many that are listening to this on this of how easy it is. But the message of the fog has been a great reminder to me of the truth behind speed. And that's one of the main reasons why I put this on my arm as a reminder that every day I can see this and be like, okay, if it's not clear ahead of you, that's fine. Just take another step forward. Now, again, you can try and run through the fog, but it won't get any clearer. It won't get any, you can't go any faster from there. In fact, you'll trip over a rock or you'll stumble over something because you didn't see it fast enough ahead of you. And then that's when obstacles pop up from there. So again, it's just about being able to take that one step forward at a time. And I wanted to share this because it's been a big thing that has helped me a lot, specifically in this time over the summer. Like everybody, I've had great peaks. I have valleys. There's been struggles and tough days over the past few months that I've been aiming to try and figure out. Tried a lot of things, didn't work. Tried some other things, succeeded very well. But still, it's that mark where oftentimes we think we need to see the clarity. We need to see the vision so clearly ahead of you. And this is when I had a conversation earlier this week where it said clarity comes in the trenches. It comes from the work. So everything that I just said there, it's a great analogy. It might resonate with you. You might get a good warm feeling from it. But you still do need to take that step. You still need to take the steps forward. When you do that, it doesn't guarantee it's going to get any clearer, but it does guarantee that you keep moving forward. You're going to keep excelling. And I wanted to share that story. It was really powerful to me. It's been like that since 10 years since I heard this story before. And in all the work that I've been studying from the Tao and all the work that I want to do from that, it's all resonates. There's so much synergy between this message and that. It all comes together. So I'll leave you with that. Okay. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for your energy and your time that you give to listening. And I'll catch you on the next one. All right. Peace.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you found some great value here. And if you like this episode, please drop a comment and leave us a 5-star rating and review. It does more to build the show than you can imagine. And do not forget to check out and join the Strength Connection Facebook group. In this group, I share the biggest takeaways and lessons from these amazing conversations, as well as training and strength tips for pursuing mastery and fulfillment in life. This group is filled with individuals looking to take full control over their strength, and it's the perfect space to explore new ideas and to share your journey. And you'll also get exclusive access to these Strength Connection Mastery Seminars. It's a deep dive into the physical, mental, and spiritual training that you can begin using immediately. So do not wait, go now. Seriously, go. All right, much love to you. Thank you so much, and I'll catch you on the next one.